So if a penguin wants to grab the mic from Connor, I'm sure that the penguins can speak, because again, I'm pro-penguin around here. Anyone who gets friends together and then dresses up and shows that level of commitment deserves the microphone. Am I right?
Thank you, Mr. Yank. And we just flew in from the South Pole, and boy, are our arms tired. I'm Sid Barfoot. I'm with Bold, Iowa. So in the past, when asked about climate change, you've said that people with financial struggles have the attitude that the penguins can wait in line. Well, full disclosure, I'm not a penguin. I'm actually a person with financial struggles dressed as a penguin. Now, an extra $1,000 a month would be great. But in the meantime, we just found out last week that the second largest emperor penguin colony collapsed due to ice melt. And last year, 150,000 people were displaced by the deadliest wildfire in California's history. And just this year, thousands of people were displaced right here in the Midwest due to catastrophic flooding. So we've done the math, and neither people nor penguins have the time to wait in line while the next president spends political capital on something as ambitious as a universal basic income. So our question to you, Mr. Yank, is will you adjust your campaign and make avoiding climate catastrophe a priority, and so that both people and penguins can win?
Thank you for that. And 100% yes, climate change is an existential threat to our way of life, humans and penguins alike. And to the extent I ever suggested that I was not fully committed, then I conveyed the wrong message. Because to me, climate change, you know, I'm a parent, and I used to think we were shafting our grandkids. Now I think we're shafting ourselves and our kids. I mean, the last 4 years have been the 4 warmest years in recorded history. You don't need to be a genius or a scientist to say, like, climate change is picking up. And you saw the floods here in Iowa and the Midwest. You see the forest fires and the changes around the world. So to the extent that I've said anything about like the fact that in a society where 78% of people are having trouble paying their bills and it's hard to galvanize energy around climate change, I still stand by that. Like if you go to someone and say, like we need to address climate change, they can't pay their bills, then they might look up at you and say the penguins can wait in line, like, you know, like I can't pay my bills. And so what we have to do is we have to get the economic boot off of people's throats. And then they're gonna hopefully realize that we need to address climate change. And this is the big thing, is that I've lived this in my career, and I really want you all to live this too. We can control our capital flows much more easily than we control just about anything else. Like if I'm elected president thanks to you all, this is not a far out policy at all. Like, so bear with me. So I become president in 2021, and then you know the entire reaction is gonna be like the anonymous Asian man who wants to give everyone money just became president. How did that happen? And then all the Democrats and progressives will be super psyched because they'll be like, oh, let's work with a new Democratic president who beat Donald Trump and get money to children and families. And then Republicans and conservatives are gonna look up and say, wait a minute, I kinda like this because this is money that's gonna go to rural areas and red states on the interior, and we do not need 80% of Congress to pass the dividend, we just need 51%. So let's say we get the dividend across the finish line, and then President Yang's gonna be like, all right, now climate change, and then we're gonna be able to accelerate progress towards climate change because those people that earlier could not focus on anything but paying their bills now have their heads up. And then when you say climate change is an existential threat, they'll look at their children and say, yes, it is. So this is just my choice of tactics, but we are 100% aligned on where we need to go. I'm for a carbon fee and dividend, I'm for rejoining the Paris Accords, I'm for clean air and water as actual measurements of the economy. So my description of the people that have this boot on their throats, that's not saying like, I think the penguins can wait. Like what I was saying is like, look, we have to be real. If Americans can't pay their bills, then like that's job number one for them and their families and their kids. But then we can move towards climate change as fast as possible. The brutal truth, though, is that America only accounts for 15% of global emissions. So even if we go whole hog and move towards renewables as fast as possible, we're probably only going to slow the rate of climate change incrementally, even if we try and lead the world in the same direction. Unfortunately, the stuff that's making you very depressed and angry about the future of the global climate, it's happening. And even if we were to adopt very intelligent policies and get our share of global emissions down, the fact is a lot of the world is at a different point in their development cycle, and they're just going to keep on burning the cheapest forms of energy possible. So we should invest in trying to mitigate the worst effects of climate change, because it is probably coming our way regardless of what sort of policies we adopt. I just want to thank you all, though, for your energy and commitment and passion. It's infectious, and you should know I am with you. I'm not running around as the climate change candidate, but I am running around as the science candidate. And if you believe in science, you know climate change is a major, major threat.